Greetings, this is Logue, and this is another installment of Let's Talk Consciousness, my lazy DIY podcast of an ongoing conversation about looking at life and its mundane day-to-day issues through the larger point of view that reality itself is a manifestation of consciousness. The way it's depicted in Eastern philosophy, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism. And if you're looking at that point of view, what does that mean about your day-to-day life? So I've done 20 some odd videos or whatever, however many it is, about primarily focusing on forgiving yourself and others as a way of being more aligned or in tune with that higher point of view, that we're all really fundamentally one thing experiencing itself as an individual in a kind of intentional illusion, perhaps. But if that's the case, what do you do with that? So I've been posting a lot of these, sometimes meandering, sometimes having a point, sometimes seemingly catching on some interesting topic, other times maybe it's just boring drivel, who knows. But one point of view that at least one person reflected back to me that they found helpful made me think that it's worth sharing again in video form. And that is, if you're taking this point of view at all seriously, that life is this kind of intentional dream state of an illusion of isolation, an illusion of separateness. It would mean that in this kind of connected oneness that we might kind of pine for but not really understand from our point of view, it would mean that there really are no irrelevant people or beings, if you want to broaden that a bit. But it would really mean that no point of view or existence, if it really is this huge allness trying to experience every possible conceivable subjective state of being, there's no fluff, no extra, there's no overflow. I don't know, I could say it in so many ways, but meaning that everybody is highly, highly relevant to the whole endeavor. Or the way I phrased it the first time I shared it was, the universe is incomplete without you. And that's kind of, I think, an empowering idea. I think on a more cynical point of view, you could think of plenty of people who you think of as irrelevant or unimportant or just unhelpful, maybe, and I would argue that sometimes those unhelpful people are really some of the most relevant, considering the kind of high drama that takes place in this universe, or this corner of it. So the reason I bring that up is that something I think we think by default is that we are not, I mean, not everybody thinks this, but a lot of us are kind of pushed into the corner of thinking that we are not relevant or important because so many other people are elevated as being more important. And I think that that's a fundamental flaw in your thinking. Granted, there's people who make a big impression on the world and do important things, but again, from this more abstract spiritual point of view, every experience, even being a beggar from, pretty much your whole life, from birth to death, and never seemingly making an impact on anyone, from somebody like my perspective, living a fairly privileged, comfortable life, to see in them all this possibility for all this rich experience that I might, from a certain point of view, only think my experience or something like my experience is valid, and that somebody who ends up in that kind of position being, irrelevant in so many words, is just, you just got a bad hand. And I think it's interesting to kind of broaden your point of view that in everybody you meet in day-to-day life, somebody who pisses you off, somebody who just maybe doesn't leave an impression at all, whoever it may be, that they're all here with a great deal of intentionality. And I don't know, another kind of, I guess, a more hippy-dippy idea that I like to tie into that is that if the universe is this if consciousness is like this sea in which we swim, where it's just so pervasive in everything that we don't even realize that it's like everything the universe is made of, again, hippy dippy. But if that's the way you're looking at it, then perhaps this planet itself, and he's maybe in a lower form of consciousness or even a higher form of consciousness, who knows, but the if everything itself, even perhaps light and matter and everything, is just this manifestation of consciousness, perhaps that in that sense this environment only spawns life that it wants on it. I mean, if it is a conscious being, maybe it has the ability to deselect certain people. It doesn't think it wants to be part of the whole scene. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thought, but I like to think about it. So, keep it brief. I guess I'm just trying to offer a somewhat reassuring reminder that if you exist, it's because you matter and you're part of a larger thing that is allness, every possible state of being, and therefore your experience and what you contribute to that is of vital importance, regardless of what you might think of it. So let yourself off the hook. Relax a bit. Try to have fun with it. And I'll say it now for the second time. Smoke lots of pot. It really, it really helps take the edge off. So with that, enjoy your now.